In this series, we're going to take a look at some iconic and maybe not so iconic video games and go over the mechanics, graphics, story, and determine if this game still holds up to this day or deserves a proper remake. My name is C4 Sages, and this is Should It Be Remade?
Let's rock, baby.
For today's episode, we are going to go back to 2001, where the Devil May Cry series began. That's right, I'm talking about Devil May Cry. So, get your pizzas and sundaes ready, because we're about to head back and see if this 2001 classic still holds up, or should it be remade? So, what the hell is Devil May Cry? Well, Devil May Cry is a 2001 action-adventure game that was developed by Capcom Production Studio and published by Capcom for the PlayStation 2. It is the first installment in the Devil May Cry series, set in modern times on the fictional Mallet? How do you say it?
Malay Island.
Oh yes, that's right. Malay Island. The story centers on our protagonist, Dante, a demon hunter who uses his business to carry out a lifelong vendetta against all demons. In the beginning of the story, he meets a woman named Trish, who takes him on a journey to defeat the demon lord Mundus, who is responsible for the deaths of Dante's brother and mother. Or so we thought. Well, technically, but anyway. The story is told primarily through a mixture of cutscenes, which use the game engine and several pre-rendered full-motion videos. The game is very loosely based on the Italian poem Divine Comedy, by the use of illusions, including the game's protagonist Dante, named after Dante Alighieri, and other characters like Trish, Beatrice Pontinari, and Virgil. As most of you know, the game was originally conceived by Capcom developers as Resident Evil 4. Yeah, that's right, the game was going to be the next Resident Evil game. The game was developed by Team Little Devils, a group of staff members within Capcom's production studio. Some of the major gameplay elements were partially inspired by a bug found in Onimusha Warlords. During a playtest, director Hideki Kamiya discovered that enemies could be kept in the air by slashing them repeatedly, which led to the inclusion of juggles by gunfire and sword strikes. According to Kamiya, Devil May Cry was designed from the ground up around Dante's aerobatics and combat abilities. The decision was made late in the development process to change the game to a more mission-based advancement instead of the more open-ended structure of the Resident Evil series. Devil May Cry's difficulty was intentional, according to director Kamiya, who called it his challenge to those who played light, casual games. The original Devil May Cry game has sold more than 3 million copies, spawned multiple sequels, and a fucking awesome prequel, and is considered by many as one of the greatest PlayStation 2 games of all time, if not one of the greatest games of all time. Now, let's talk about graphics. Graphically speaking, Devil May Cry at the time was a stunning looking game. Its in-game cutscenes were stellar and for the most part performed very well. PlayStation 2's hardware at the time was far better than the PlayStation 1, and graphics for all games that were released truly made a huge generational leap. Games like Silent Hill 3, God of War, Shadow of the Colossus were truly amazing to look at and experience. In 2001, by today's standards, the graphics on the original PS2 are pretty, well, in some cases dismal and have not aged well at all. But back in 2001, seeing the gothic and eerie Resident Evil style graphics for Devil May Cry were great, One of the best features in my opinion from a graphical standpoint is when you pause the menu to select a weapon, and then the game transitions after you select a weapon to this quick cutscene of the weapon and how it animates, which at the time was pretty freaking badass. Overall, the graphics were really great, but definitely have not aged very well. Now let's look at the gameplay. Devil May Cry's gameplay consists of levels called missions, where players must fight numerous enemies, perform platforming, tasks, and occasionally solve puzzles to progress through the story. The player's performance in each mission is giving a letter grade, starting with D, increasing to C, B, and A, with an additional top grade of S. And let me tell you, when you get an S, oh boy does it feel great. Grades are based on time taken to complete the mission, the amount of red orbs gathered, which is the in-game currency obtained from defeating enemies, destroying objects, or just general exploration. Stylish combat is defined as performing an unbroken series of varied attacks while avoiding damage, with the player performance tracked by an on-screen gauge. The more hits the player makes, the higher the gauge rises. The gauge starts off at dull, progresses to cool, bravo, and absolute, and peaks at stylish. Repeatedly using the same moves causes the gauge to stop rising, encouraging players to use different moves in Dante's arsenal. The gauge terms are similar to the grades given at the end of the mission. When Dante receives damage, the style rating resets back to dull. Players can also maintain their style grade by taunting enemies at close range. The combo grading system became a staple, not only inspired by Devil May Cry to continue throughout the series, but inspired many other games as well. The player can temporarily transform Dante into a more demonic creature by using the Devil Trigger ability. Doing so adds power based on the current weapon and changes Dante's appearance. The transformations typically increase strength and defense, slowly restores health, and grants special attacks, and most importantly, run like the wind. The ability is governed by the Devil Trigger gauge, which depletes as the ability is used, and is refilled by attacking enemies or taunting in normal form, which, you know, why wouldn't you want to taunt at someone? It's badass. Devil May Cry contains puzzles and other challenges besides regular combat. The main story often requires the player to find key items to advance, in a manner similar to puzzles in the Resident Evil games, as well as shitty platforming and exploration tasks to find hidden caches of orbs. Side quests called secret missions in the game are located in hidden or out-of-the-way areas and are not required for completion, but provide permanent power-ups. They typically challenge the player to defeat a group of enemies in a specific manner, or within a time limit, or solve a puzzle. Compared to later games in the series, Devil May Cry definitely feels familiar, but aged. Though you can mix up combos, Dante feels limited in what he can do on the screen. Unlike later games in the series, where you can switch weapons from simply pressing your trigger buttons. In Devil May Cry, most of your weapons are limited and are only accessible from a pause menu screen, meaning if you want to switch weapons, you would have to pause the game, select a desired weapon, then go back to the game. Which, in 2001, I didn't mind, but today, it's pretty frustrating and gets in the way of combat, and hinders really thought out combos. Through the course of the game, you will come across more weapons or devil arms, and each devil arm has a unique animation and effect. As you play through the game using these weapons, over time you sort of stick with weapons that feel the most comfortable. For me, the best weapon was Alistair, an electrified sword that allows you to turn into a flying demon, badass, and is best for speedruns. Now, let's look at the story. Devil May Cry is pretty straightforward. And warning, full spoilers ahead. Devil May Cry begins with Dante being attacked in his office by a mysterious woman named Trish. He impresses her by easily brushing off her attack and explains that for years, he has haunted demons in pursuit of the ones who killed his mother and brother. Trish explains that her attack was a test, and that the demon Emperor Mundus, who Dante holds responsible for the death of his family, is preparing to cross over into the human world over centuries of imprisonment. The scene jumps to the arrival at the immersed castle of the mysterious Trish, how do you say it again?
Malay Island.
Where Mundus has steadily grown his power and influence over the years in preparation for his ascension. Trish quickly abandons Dante. I mean, couldn't have Dante done this too? Oh, no, never mind. Who was forced to continue on his own. Dante explores the castle, fighting off demons summoned by Mundus to attack him and overcoming all sorts of devious puzzles, traps, and tricks. Dante uncovers the first of Mundus's servants, a giant spider scorpion thing demon known as Phantom. Really, that's all you had? Dante wins their battle, but Phantom escapes and swears revenge before Dante eventually impales him and kills him. Dante goes on to defeat the other servants. A giant demon bird known as Griffin, that's better, a living bioweapon referred to as Nightmare, and a masked dark knight known as Nilo Angelo, who impresses Dante with his sword fighting. In their first battle, Dante manages to defeat Nilo Angelo, and is about to deliver the final blow when his opponent suddenly overpowers him. Nilo Angelo prepares to kill Dante, but hesitates, and then flees upon seeing the half-amulet Dante wears, which contains a picture of his mother. After the two encounters, his true identity is revealed as Dante's identical brother, Virgil, who is actually controlled by Mundus and is made one of his minions. After Virgil seemingly dies, his amulet joins with his brother's half, and Force Edge, Dante's primary sword which he inherited from his father, which is not true. I mean, there's more to... Anyway, changes into a true form and becomes the legendary Dark Knight sword, Sparta. When Dante tries to save Trish from Nightmare, she betrays him and reveals that she is the spy for Mundus. But when her life is endangered, Dante chooses to save her, claiming he only did so because of the resemblance to his mother. He warns her to stay away. Yet when he finally confronts Mundus, who's about to kill Trish, Dante again chooses to save her and he is injured. Mundus fires a beam to kill him, but Trish takes the attack instead. This unleashes Dante's full power, thus allowing him to take on the form of Sparta. Dante and Mundus then battle on another plane of existence. Despite Mundus' overwhelming power, Dante is victorious, and believing her to be dead, leaves his amulet and sword with Trish's body before departing. Returning to the island, Dante finds the castle is collapsing and is cornered by the injured Mundus, having used the last of his power to cross over to the human world. Dante fights Mundus, but is unable to defeat him until Trish suddenly appears and infuses Dante's gun with her magic. Dante banishes Mundus back to the demon world, and the Emperor vows to one day return and finish his conquest. Please, Devil May Cry 6. When Trish tries to apologize, she begins to cry, and Dante tells her it means that she's become human and not just a devil, because devils never cry. Oh, for fuck's sake. Dante and Trish escape on an old biplane as the island falls into the sea. After the credits, it is revealed that Dante and Trish are working together as partners and have renamed Dante's business from Devil May Cry to Devil Never Cry. Now, time for the age-old question. Should Devil May Cry be remade, or should it be left alone? Though Devil May Cry is still a fun game to play today, it has not aged well in terms of graphics, gameplay, and story. My hope is that Devil May Cry gets a complete overhaul, and developers make changes to not only the story, but to the combat as well. Nothing would make me feel more happier than switching weapons on the fly like later games and truly do some sick ass combos. I'd love to see Ruben Langdon take on the role as Dante. Through the series, we've seen Dante start out as a super serious character, occasionally joking around here and there. But then as the series progressed, and I'm not talking about Devil May Cry 2, no, I'm not talking about that fucking game, to this carefree and jokester style character who has so much charisma, and I feel that Ruben's take on the character would be really interesting to see. I would also love to see all the characters rewritten and the story to really flow a lot better than it did in 2001. I mean, can you imagine Mundus remade to be this very powerful, intense being that makes the player feel like this character is someone I care about and truly want to defeat, but can't bear the fact that he's actually pretty cool? You know what I'm saying. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Please, Capcom, make it happen. With that being said, this is the end of the video. Please let me know if you would like to see Devil May Cry remade, and also let me know if I missed out on any details or topics that should be included in the next episode. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again for more Should It Be Remade?